let's turn to what I think is a really serious issue. It's an issue raised by the Pope Francis in a speech recently in which he raised questions about surrogacy. He talked about surrogacy as always being exploitative. Here is part of what he had to say.
Despicabile la pratica della cosiddetta maternità surrogata che lede gravemente la dignità della donna e del figlio. Essa è fondata sullo sfruttamento di una situazione di necessità materiale della madre.
Now, I don't always agree with Pope Francis, but I do on this. And let me explain it in terms which might offend some people and might be controversial. I don't intend it to, but I think it's a really big moral issue because surrogacy, trading in a baby, actually turns human beings into being commodities, property. So it's the moral equivalent, it's morally equal to slavery. Now, I know that's a very strong thing to say, but think about it. This is a little human being who is a commodity who can be bought and sold or given as a gift, the way you would with a large screen TV or a car. It's something you can give someone or you can sell them or they can buy. This is not. And because it's a baby and can't protest, it's the smallest, humblest, weakest kind of human being. Therefore, we can trade in these things. I think this is morally, absolutely, utterly despicable. I know there are people who, here on Sky and elsewhere, have said, no, this is all right. And the idea of being unhappy about surrogacy. Think about the poor parents who can't have children otherwise. Think about the babies that are being traded as if they are a new pair of Nikes. They are human beings. They are living, breathing human beings with souls, and they are not commodities, they are not properties, and they cannot be given or bought or sold. And so I think all kinds of surrogacy, whether it's altruistic surrogacy or commercial surrogacy, is morally horrid. Am I going over the top?
What's your view on that, Liz?
No, I couldn't agree more. I think any practice, because the Catholic Church is also very strict on IVF, and I agree with them on that as well. Anything in which you are playing God and unborn babies get disposed of, only the strongest actually are used in the process of IVF. And of course, surrogacy as well. You make a great point about the babies, but the mothers,
yes,
international surrogacy, that they are taken advantage of. They are paid a pittance. It's far cheaper to buy a baby overseas because these women, and if you look at the stats, it's always in impoverished countries. These are poor women who are trying to make some money using their bodies, women being used as incubators, basically. Yes, and these babies are being purchase. These women are desperate. That is why they're doing it. There's no altruistic motive whatsoever, and they are being taken advantage of. And there's all manner of wrongdoing that goes on in this industry as well. I personally know a couple who were footing the bill for this woman who was supposedly having their twins. And it turns out for months and months and months, she was wearing a fake belly. They were sending her thousands of dollars. Wow. They would for the nursery, for, you know, all her caretaking needs. She's seeing a gynecologist, all the things that expectant mothers do. And she too wasn't very well taken care of in the finance department, which is why she was doing this. So they kept sending her money in the lead up to what they thought was going to be the birth of their twins. It was all fake. Yeah, and she vanished into thin air.
You know what I thought was really interesting about the Pope's comments at this time in world history, where you've got Israel and Palestinians, well, the whole struggle between Jews and Arabs goes right back to a case of surrogacy where Abraham can't have a child with his wife, and so he sleeps with the servant girl to get a son, and from that
come the Arabs.
All dysfunction and struggle and rivalry has sprung forth, and thousands of years later we're still dealing with the aftermath of that. So there's all sorts of complications, even when it's done for the right reasons. But the problem is unintended consequences.
There are consequences which we don't want to think about. There was a couple who paid someone overseas to have a baby for them, sold her womb as an incubator. The child was born disabled. So they said, we won't accept it, and just came back home again. Now, in other words, the product was not good enough. We paid you to make a product and you didn't make a good product for us. That's the moral standard of surrogacy.
The other issue here, and I'm biased on this because I've got 2 adopted children, but there are so many children without families who need to be adopted, but somehow the world has decided, no, that's not culturally acceptable, because in our case, we took children from Ethiopia to Australia. Well, you've denied them their culture. Well, what good is a culture if you don't have food, you don't have shelter, and you don't have a mum or a dad?
Yeah.
And so we've demonised adoption, but that's a great option that not only fulfils the dreams of wannabe parents, but also helps children who have a very difficult life accept that perhaps a couple might take them in.
100%, but the indictment there is on the Australian government. It is so hard to adopt.
Oh, it takes years.
Some very good friends of mine got lucky because they fit the description of what the mother adopting out her child specifically said. I want this, 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 this and this. And it was basically describing them. So they were able to adopt a baby within a year of being on the wait list, which is absolutely unheard of.
Yes.
But there is so much work that could be done in that space. Australia already does very thorough vetting when it comes to, you want to adopt someone, we're going to make sure you are up to scratch in every way, shape or form. But it is still so difficult, even once you've ticked all the boxes and crossed all the T's, dotted all the I's, for people who are desperate. They've got all the love in the world to give a child, and they still can't.
Very quickly, James, it's not just the parents who are desperate, it's the kids. The bureaucrats who do this do not understand little children. The little children who get adopted from overseas don't want to retain their culture. They want a hug.
Yeah, that's the truth.
That's what they want. They want to be loved and cared for and have someone they can call mum and dad. So these bureaucrats just don't understand little children.
Yeah.